Well, there we go.
What'd you do?
I found a way to hit the record button a little differently. I guess it wanted me to direct where to place it, and then I figured it out. So tell me about Mama Dot. What's your first memory that you have?
Okay. My first memory. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Right when I was born. No, I'm just kidding.
I was about to say, well, you've got a really good memory in general, so it wouldn't surprise me.
Well, no, my first memory of my mom was probably about 1.5 to 2 range.
Really?
And does that sound bad? I mean, I don't know. I don't know
No, it
how
sounds
far you go
amazing.
back.
It's amazing because I know my first vivid memory that I ever had. I believe I was 5 at the time. So you think about it, Bishop's going to be 2, June 6th. So if his first vivid memory is at 2, that's amazing.
Well, you think about it. You're with your kids when they're growing up, hit one.
Right,
You would think they would remember you
right.
because you're interacting with them, right? You're like, okay, well, they remember you from a day to day thing, but I guess as you grow older, those memories kind of maybe
Get a little
fade
fuzzy.
because, right. But the reason why I remember it had to be 1.5 to around 2 because so my mom was born in, well, I can't tell you where she was born. She didn't like the area, but it was near Columbus, Georgia. How about that?
Okay,
And
gotcha. I
yeah,
have an idea where it
and
could be.
yeah, right. And there was anyway, but she grew up in Lafayette, Alabama,
Okay.
which is northeast, I think, of Auburn. Yeah, about 20 minutes,
That's
and
where
small town.
Mississippi Burning was filmed, wasn't it? One of the
That's
movies, a
exactly,
movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
yep, yeah. They filmed the majority of that movie there. So my mom's, well, first of all, she was uh one of four. She was the third child born,
Okay.
and she had an older brother, John, and then a sister named Marie, and then her, and then her uncle, her brother George, my uncle George. And so, um, anyway, I remember going with her to Lafayette right around the age of 2 because her mom had gotten sick
Mm.
and she was apparently dying.
Oh, okay.
And So we would ride to Lafayette about every other day to check
Hmm.
on her. I think she'd
Hmm.
actually broken her hip too. And
Ooh.
for whatever reason, with a broken hip, I don't know why, but people go down pretty fast. I guess it's lack of movement or what. I don't
Lack of
know.
movement, blood flow, nerves. It's a lot of areas within the body. The hip is more important than people realize.
It must be. Yeah. So I remember going up there to see her. She was in I want to say some kind of facility. If she wasn't, she was in her house, but and maybe someone was taking care of her.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
but then one of the things that I really recall back then was when we would drive, she would always say something like, "Hey Joel, pay attention to where we're going. Just I want you to pay attention." And I'm thinking, okay, I want because later on she would ask me to give her directions to get
Huh.
there, and so we would be going down the road, and I'm looking around and kind of paying attention. But after about 20 or so times up there, really up to the point where her mom had like passed away.
Hmm.
We rode back up there and she asked me, she said, "Okay, I want you to tell me how to get there."
Mm.
And I told her exactly how to get there. And I think that's why I'm pretty good with directions.
I
Now,
see.
as soon as I say that, I'm gonna get lost somewhere. But yeah, growing up, I was pretty good with directions. But she kind of instilled in me to kind of observe stuff, right?
Yeah.
And she was like that with everything.
Was she
You know,
bad with
everything.
directions? Is that why she asked you that?
No, she was really good with directions.
So I think it was just trying to get you to, I guess, test your mind, I guess, trying to,
I think she was just trying to keep me busy without, you know,
gotcha.
whining or something. So
Yeah.
she was kind of like a
Yeah.
game to her, I guess.
Right.
So, but no, she was kind of like that with everything. She wanted me to learn stuff. She was pretty kind of a free, open parent, if that makes any sense. In other words,
Mm.
I was a baby of 8, so like you and I were talking about a minute ago, once you get past the first one, the second one, there's not that many. The
Yes.
fears go way down of what could
That's
happen,
right.
right?
That's right.
And so that's how she was with me. To the point, and I'm kind of fast forwarding a little bit, but to the point where I was 6 or 7, I was walking around the whole neighborhood, walking down to the train trestle, the tracks, the bridge, and
Right.
and uh, and and she was never worried about it. She just trusted me, and she would tell me what to pay attention to. Enough so that I wouldn't do anything very impulsive like I had
I
friends
see.
that would do. I mean, I was always a little cautious and a little
Hmm.
skeptical. And I think, because she would tell me stuff to be aware of, but then also I just didn't want to do anything stupid, right? Because
Right.
she trusted me.
Right. Right.
And James, this conversation is going to be, it may be really long. We may have to
Oh, we're gonna
think
break
about,
it up.
okay. So those were my earliest memories of her. And then around 3 years old, and I kind of know this because I met William Powell
Right.
at 3 years old at
That's right.
the Capistrano, a bar in Oak Cloverdale.
Right.
And my dad was in there with me, and William came in with his granddad. And I was just kind of rolling the pool balls, blah, blah, blah. And they were up there at the bar, right?
Right.
They didn't know each other at the time. And I didn't know William. He came over and said, "Hey, can I play? Whatever." We were just rolling pool balls. We didn't know what we were doing.
Mm.
And come to find out that as my dad was talking with his granddad wasn't, but really like 4 or 5 years older than my dad.
I was about to say they
Um,
had to have been a little bit closer to age because your dad
yeah,
was older. Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, he was almost 50 when I was born,
Hmm.
almost 48, I think.
Okay.
So, come to find out, they were talking, and I guess about where we lived, and Mr. Corbin, that was William's granddad, Pop. They had just bought a house on the street behind us, and they figured that out amongst themselves, and then he told me that on the way home. So William, is my oldest friend,
Yes.
and so I remember that distinctly at 3 years old. But what I also remember at 3 years old, because we had such a large family, is that I had to sleep in the room with my parents, not necessarily in their bed. I think they had some kind of
Right.
little
Like a
bed on the side
blow up
because,
mattress or something. Yeah.
yeah, well, yeah, I'm not sure they had a blow up mattress. In fact, maybe it was.
Yeah.
It could have been some kind of float thing. You float on the lake. Who knows? I don't even remember. But that's where I slept, and because it was a 4 bedroom house, 2 bath, and in Green Acres,
Okay.
and there was probably four, at least 3 or 4 other siblings in the house.
Okay.
And
So
so,
some of them were aged out and gone when by the time you were born.
right. Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And matter of fact, um, my oldest sister was 26 and had 2 kids when I was born.
Oh, wow.
So there's such a wide gap there, right?
That makes
And
you the uncle, even though you're younger than them,
that's
or
right. I was born an uncle.
right.
I came into this
That's
world as an uncle.
wild.
And by the way, my nephew, he was a mean son of a. I mean, just when I say mean, he was tough, and he used to just wail on me.
Hmm.
My pretty much my whole life, but he was, whew, he was a tough tough guy.
Hmm.
Um, and he lived with us a good bit of the time in my young, you know, adolescence, I guess, from the time I was like 10 to 17. He lived with us, and
Hmm.
he went to Marine Corps for 3 or 4 years or whatever. But anyway, so at 3 years old, I remember going into the bathroom in my parents' bathroom, and well, I was going to the bathroom,
Yeah.
and this thing hit me like a ton of bricks. I mean, it just hit me. I don't know. I was just kind of thinking, I guess, and this question popped in my head, and it was like, why am I here? You know, in a childlike way, but why am I here? What is this? Who are these people? What is this? You know, it was just, I don't know. It was weird, but it was also a very lonely kind of feeling. It was,
Hmm.
it disturbed me, and you know, I didn't understand it. So I go to my mom,
Hmm.
and again, I can't talk like a 3-year-old child, but you'll get the point.
Yeah.
I'm talking to her, and I'm like, Mom, why am I here? And she said, Well, what do you mean? Why are you here?
Hmm.
And I said, she goes, You mean, why are you in this house? Or why are you with us? Or I said,
Hmm.
Yeah, all that. But, you know, what is this? In a child way. I don't
Right.
know exactly how I worded it. But the question was really, well, why was I here? What was this? What is this thing about? And she finally figured it out pretty quickly, and she said, "Oh, I got it." And she said, "Well, Joel, there's um, there's a creator, and his name is God, and he created all things." So we went to a window and looked out. She pointed at the trees and the birds and the grass and all these different things, and she
Hmm.
said, "He created all this. He created me, your dad, your sisters, and you, and he has a plan for you, but that's something that you're going to have to figure out on your own
Hmm.
through a relationship with him." And I said, "Well, where is he?"
Hmm.
And she said, "Well, he's everywhere, but he's in the heavenly realm," something to that effect.
Yeah.
I'm using that word because that's the only thing I can think of right now, but he's in heaven, but he's everywhere. And I said, "Okay, you know, I guess I kind of agree with it. Kind of
Right.
the way
It's
she
outside of
explained it,
what
it
you
kind of
understood. Yeah.
right, yeah, it kind of solved it for a little bit. Um, but you know, still, I always had these questions in my head. I mean, I was always asking questions, maybe kind of skeptical questions,
Hmm.
like you know, but yet nothing else made any more sense. I mean, there wasn't anything
Right.
I could come up with. And so I'm just kind of jumping through some little hoops here because there's a lot of stories here, a lot, and I don't want to miss out on any of them.
So did she
So
grow up? She grew up Christian, right?
she did, yeah. Let me back up.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Yes, she grew up a Christian. Her father, mother, they were involved in church. And matter of fact, my mom was a cheerleader at Lafayette
Hmm.
High School, along with her sister, and my uncle John played football. He actually played for Hanley High, which is in Roanoke, because I want to say they moved to Roanoke for a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And
What did
Roanoke, which
her
is just
parents do for a living? Do you know?
um, my grandfather.
Yeah. And grandmother.
He was in the insurance business,
Okay.
and
Huh.
I'm not sure. I'm sure it was something along the lines of life insurance.
Gotcha.
And yeah, and his name was Ambrose Ecrew Jackson.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of an odd one. Um, and then my grandmother was a homemaker, and
Gotcha.
she may have done something else.
Right.
But so my mom's dad died when she was 15,
Okay.
and yeah, and really don't know what
So you didn't
happened. I
even
think
get a chance to know him at all because he was already gone
no,
by the
no,
time
no.
you were born. Gotcha.
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, but my mom actually graduated high school at 16 because they bumped her up 2 grades to be with her sister,
Hmm.
and she was smart. Both of them had scholarships to what's now Sanford, and I want
Okay.
to say it was called Howard College or something like that back then.
Hmm.
But she chose. She met this big, tall, 6'2", blonde-haired guy, broad shoulders, handsome guy, and I can't tell you his name either. He'd want to. He'd probably come back and slap me around if I said anything. But he was better known as Lefty, and
Yes.
uh, and interesting, interesting guy to say the least. Great provider. Uh, I don't know how he did it all. I'll be honest with you, but
No,
she
because
loved this man.
let's see, you said you were one of eight. Is that right? Eight?
Right, right.
Wow. And the youngest,
Six
right?
sisters. Yeah, the youngest of eight. Six sisters, one
Wow.
brother,
Wow.
and
That's a lot of
so
rice and beans.
yeah, that's a lot of stuff that most people wouldn't eat right now. I
No,
guarantee.
no.
Um, but that was okay. I loved it. I had a big family. There was always something going on.
Oh, yeah.
And anyway, so yeah, my mom was a very, very strong Christian. And I
Baptist
think,
or Catholic or
yeah,
what denomination?
Baptist. Yeah,
Yeah.
Baptist. Yeah, man, I get that question. I used to get that question a lot. Are you Catholic or you grew up Mormon, so on and so forth? And no,
Right.
I just, my dad just said, no, we were just dumb old country folks. Didn't have TVs back then. Had to have needed some entertainment. But anyway, so I guess around I don't know 9 years old. Yeah. Um, I made a really really well. It was a very poor choice on my part, but I was with some friends, and I was the youngest. The other four or five were like 2 and 3, maybe 4 years older,
Okay.
and we all
Teenage
walked to
years.
the right. We all walked to the Montgomery Mall,
Hmm.
and we went in a drugstore inside the mall called, I think it was called Super X Drugs, and we just stole everything we could put in our pockets. I mean, Snickers, cigarettes, lighters, you name it, just anything. And
Right. Right.
so, back then they didn't have cameras or anything, but we started to walk out the back door that went into the parking lot of the mall, and they stopped us, called the
Hmm.
police.
Hmm.
Every one of us had to give them our parents' phone numbers,
Oh
and
man.
so yeah, they all show up, and I'll never forget one of them. One of my buddies, I won't mention his name, but he didn't even have to go downtown. His mom beat him so bad across that parking lot that they felt bad for him. But so we had to ride down, and our parents had to follow us. We had to ride in this little youth aid, wasn't like police car, but it was a youth aid, and
Interesting.
in and ended up downtown and going through this whole process of why'd you do it, and we're like, I don't know, and interviewed each one of us individually, and then the guy says, well, I understand you're the leader of this group. I'm like, I'm 9 years old. These guys are like 12, 13,
Yeah.
14 years. I mean,
Yeah.
my mom goes, how could he be the leader? These kids they're 12 and 13 years old. And he said, well,
Yeah.
that's just what they said. And I said, well, I'm not the leader of anything. I just came along with it, and they didn't force me to do it. I did it. And so anyway, we get home, and she said she was crying on the way home.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff happened around 9 years old, just by the way.
Okay.
Um, she was crying on the way home, but it
Was this the
wasn't
first
like
time or like the first, or is this like four or five different things that happened and this is like the fifth or sixth one?
this was the first big thing.
Okay.
Uh, Other than that, I can remember like Well, all right, man, James. There's so many stories here. I'll tell you what. Let's put a halt on this because I got to write down some notes, or we're gonna be stuck here. I got too much good stuff I want to say.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Like I
so
said, this is gonna be like the Chronicles of Mama Dot. So this is not we don't have to go try to put it all into one. This is gonna be
yeah, I
a
know, man, but
multi-layered thing.
I'm thinking back on some stuff that
You're
I just
going down the
completely missed.
rabbit hole. Yeah.
Yeah, so I need to kind of outline it. Let's just do it again. Let's do it again, and reschedule it.
Just
Just
re just
whenever.
remind you about this talk about 9 years old, something like that.
Well, no, I'll remember that, but I'm just remembering now going back to like five,
Oh,
six,
okay.
seven,
Okay.
eight. Some things that happened there that
Okay. So you so
the
I
whole point of this is
just tell
that
you start at five. Could come back to five.
right, yeah,
Yeah,
because the
gotcha.
whole point of this is that you know is man, I grew up with a mother that loved unconditionally. And when I say that, I mean it. And when she never got mad at me.
Hmm.
She would be upset and not really disappointed, but just, crying. And she always just encouraged me. This is the
Hmm.
nuts and bolts of the story.
Yeah.
And the fact is that I could just see God through her eyes.
Yeah.
I just saw love in her eyes and I saw it everywhere she was. So
Right.
that's what I want to get to. But I want to make sure I'm making some notes because I don't want to leave anything out. I'll tell you why. Because
Yeah.
this right here is going to be something that I want to leave my kids and my grandkids.
So you think
So I want to do a better job.
so you think she loved you that way because you were the youngest child, the second born male. You think you think that's maybe why she loved you so much? Well, did she love all your brother your sisters and brother like that, or did she love you
She
in that
did.
particular way?
She did. She loved them
Yeah,
all like that. But I was the youngest. My closest sibling to me was 7 years older. That's my sister
gotcha.
Carol.
Yeah,
So when you're just with one, you're able to, the
pour all
first
your attention into that.
right, yeah. So the first six were like boom, 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 like that. So
Yeah,
it was hard to share all that kind of love with that many people.
right. Yeah,
But
absolutely.
no doubt about it, my mom was a protector. She would stand up for us for anything,
Hmm.
and I never lied to her. I always told her the truth,
Hmm.
and there's reasons for that. And there's just so many things I want to share. I just want to make some little notes
Well,
and
this
really do this
again,
right.
this is something that, we're just kind of starting. We've had
Yeah,
previous conversations before, but this is something that for a while now you've been really wanting to just
I
have
know, and that's
to be able
yeah,
to share something for beyond you to for them to know about their great grandmother, you know. And so
that's right.
the great thing about this is it's a record that can last for as long as the technology lasts. So, that's the great thing about this.
All right, so you pause it. Let's pause it here. We'll start at round five. All
Okay.
right, because there's
Okay.
some very important stuff there.
Okay.
And all right, buddy. We'll redo it.
Okay.
Um, anyway, love you. And the other thing I'm thinking about is I'm in Lizzie's car right now, and she's gonna be calling me any minute. And yeah,
Lori,
I know
what
we're
are
gonna
you
be that
doing?
phone line. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, let's chat tomorrow, man. I'll tell you what, I do miss you, bro, and I do miss talking to you. I know, man. There's been all kinds of stuff going on. I'm sure
It's life, man.
you've probably been disappointed in me, and please,
No.
give me for whatever. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of things I could apologize for, but anyway, I love you, and I want you to know that.
I love you too, bro.
Okay, man. We'll talk
All right.
later. All right.
See you.
See you,
Bye.
buddy.